Right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the meeting of the Stafford County Council Cabinet today, Wednesday, the 8th of March, 2023. First item on the agenda are apologies for absence. Mr. Bradbury, do we have any apologies?
Good morning, Leader. I have one apology from Councillor Parry.
Thank you. Second item on the agenda is declarations of interest in accordance with Standing Order 16. Does anybody have any declarations of interest? I appreciate the agenda item is to do with Boundary Commission review, so everybody technically has an interest, but given the fact that this is a corporate report rather than a individual report, I'll take those. I'll take it that there aren't any declarations. No. Having steered you in that direction, what a surprise! We've got no declarations of interest. Third item is the decision notice of the meeting held on the 15th of February 2023. Is it your wish that I sign that off as a correct record? Thank you. Before I move on to agenda item 4 and the Staffordshire Electoral Review Staffordshire Boundary Proposal, I'd just like to make reference to the fact that it is International Women's Day today. Staffordshire County Council benefits from the fact that we have the majority of our employees are women, without whom this council will be impossible to run. Their contribution on a daily basis, particularly in social services, is utterly invaluable, and therefore I'd just like to pay tribute to the women who help Staffordshire County Council in all that we do. And I think it's important that on International Women's Day we do make reference to those members of staff who help us out to the extent that they do. I don't know if anybody else wants to make any comments before we move on. Councillor Jessel.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I very much support the comments that you've made, particularly in social care. They are an invaluable part of the workforce, as indeed are all people within that workforce. You know, we do have men who work within social care, so I think it's very much an important factor. You know, I'm a woman, it's great for women, life has changed immeasurably from when I was young to where we are now. And I really value the freedom, the empowerment that we've got. And it's sobering to think that women in other parts of the world do not have those privileges that we tend to take for granted. And I think on International Women's Day, it's not only celebrating our role, our contribution to our society in this country, but it's recognising that women in other parts of the world are very much third class and have a huge struggle ahead. And for them, I wish them every success in their endeavours to get to where we are today.
And that's really important points, Councillor Jessel, because there are parts of the world where girls are not able to get an education just because they're girls. And I think we need to be pressing on internationally, on an international day, to make sure that everybody has equal access to education and equal access and opportunity to a career and a life that makes a valuable contribution to the society that they live in. So thank you for that point. Right, still not functioning here, so I have to use this little thing here instead. Right. We're moving on now to the electoral review for Staffordshire boundary proposals. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll be aware that we've got the Local Boundary Commission for England has been looking at our proposals for Staffordshire, and that the first phase of the review looked at the number of councillors we would have across the board, and that gave us a number of 62. This particular agenda item really is just a pass-through item for Cabinet. It is simply your opportunity to have sight of the proposals and make recommendations to full council, because indeed it is full council that makes the determination to make these further recommendations to the boundary review. The purpose of this report is for you to note the progress that has been made and recommend the following proposals to full council around the boundary changes, requesting a single member review for the divisions, review of the boundary changes proposed, removal of one elected member in Tamworth, addition of one elected member in East Staffordshire, and recommend to full council that the leader of the council and the deputy chief executive and the director for corporate services be authorised to finalise the proposals prior to submitting to the boundary commission. Now, this part of the process has been facilitated by our team, who've worked tremendously hard over a long period of time, having to deal with an awful lot of difficult stuff, I think would be a phrase I might use. So I just wanted to pay tribute to the team. Thank you very much indeed for the work that you've done. This, of course, is not the final matter. It's already been to scrutiny. Scrutiny had a few views, ran their eye over it. It's quite hard for councillors not to get quite parochial about their divisions, but it is about making recommendations to the boundary review team. And then it will go to public consultation as well, because I've already spoken to members of the Labour Party who are also got a very close eye on what those boundaries look like. So they will have their opportunity also as part of the public consultation to have their input. So that's the outline of what's being proposed today. Does anybody have any comments or observations? Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Leader. Only brief comments, but I thought it's appropriate given the scale of the tasks that we've asked her to undertake. And I think it's fair to say, based on these draft proposals, the success with which she's completed it, just to pay tribute to Katie Marshall, who has drawn these proposals together for us. Katie's a great example, I think, of a council officer who works without fear or favour. One of the permutations of this review at one point saw my division being split in 3 directions, which would have been quite painful. But it's the sort of thing that you just have to take on the chin. If it does happen, I'm glad to say it hasn't in the final version, but I think it speaks to the independence and bravery in some ways of the way that process has been carried out by Katie. So I just wanted that on the record. These reviews are tough, and as I've just mentioned, speak from a bit of personal experience of this, because you do become, as members, quite wedded to your communities, the areas that you serve. That's as it should be if you want to be an elected member. These reforms are about equality and fairness and making sure that each of our citizenry is represented appropriately, and that we've got equality between our divisions. But it's tough to do, and I think this is a very good set of proposals that I'll be very happy to support.
Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. I'd like to echo your comments and the Deputy Leader's comments, and also thank officers for the work they've done from a Newcastle underlying point of view, and the inclusion of local members in this process, which was well appreciated, and obviously the approach officers have taken without fear or favour in any direction to bring these proposals together, which I think are a good set of proposals. And it's a process we have to go through every now and again to update boundaries as new properties come online and populations move around, etc. So I think we've got a good set of proposals, but as you say, Leader, obviously other proposals can be put in by others, and I'm sure they will be for the electoral commission to look at, boundary commission to look at, and in the end we'll have new boundaries for the next county election, which we'll all fight with the vigour which we always do for our political parties to get elected.
And Councillor Tagg, I just wanted to ask you about particularly the transient population you have in your borough, because you have huge numbers of university students flowing in and out, and I'm just for the record, just the considerations that you gave to that as part of this process.
Yes, Leader, it's a key point with Keele University. I think all university towns suffer from this when populations, obviously new students come in, universities no longer automatically sign up their students, so it's left to the individual students. I think at the time of the last few years, students haven't been in their university towns. They've been working from home or studying from home. So that's affected particularly one of our divisions quite dramatically. And it has been happening. It's been a trend over a number of years, which has we've accommodated that in the proposals to ensure we have a balance across the board, taking into account those demographic changes with students not registering as they used to do. And if that was to increase, I think the new boundaries we've brought in will accommodate a rise in student applications for voting if that's required. So we haven't got building any problems in for the future. We're actually taking into account increases that could happen.
Councillor Sutton.
Just briefly, Leader, I think one point worthy of mention is the fact that we've been able to produce a set of proposals that do just have one member per division for the whole of the county. I think that helps the public generally in knowing exactly who their councillor is, and keeps all the divisions to a similar sort of size. So I think that should be welcomed, and let's hope that that's found by the Boundary Commission find that suitable.
I'm particularly drawn to that because I've been, and you will have been yourself, in the situations in boroughs and districts where you've had 3-member wards. You might have one Labour, one Conservative and one Liberal Democrat, or one Independent and one Conservative, whatever arrangement that you can have. And that does make things slightly confusing for members of the public. So a single-member division is quite a useful thing to have in those cases. Does anybody else have any other observations? I too would like to pay tribute to Ms Marshall for all the work that she's put into this. It's been absolutely tremendous, and really, Ms Marshall, you've got the patience of a saint. I've been in some of the meetings that you've had to, I think the word I would use is endure, and quite how you haven't, how you've managed to maintain a swan-like persona. On the surface, elegant and graceful, underneath paddling at 100 miles an hour. And I think that there have been occasions where, had you had a set of boxing gloves, you may well have deployed them, but you didn't. So well done. It's been an absolutely brilliant effort. And to Mr Eberle, thank you for your support too. Kerry Dove was also part of this at the beginning, but she's betrayed. She's moved to another job. Something popped out then. And anyway, so she also had a role to play. And but thank you to her as well. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I've given you the bones of the recommendation, so I don't intend to read it out again. Does anybody, all those in favour of the recommendation?
Agreed.
Okay, for the record, that is unanimous. And then we have nothing in exempt. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's Cabinet meeting. Thank you.